hey, it's me again. You probably get sick of me in my videos, but hey. I always look like my face is lit up, don't I, because of how white it is, but that's just because literally the window's behind me. What do I want to say? I wanted to talk about, right, I always find it a double-edged sword when I talk about how I find things difficult, because sometimes people then take that as, oh, well, she's not going to be able to do what she needs to do, or she can't support us, etc. That's not true, okay? I do know my job and I do know what I'm doing. Now, I talk about my difficulties and challenges that I find because quite often I realise how that impacts on our children as well. And I'm talking about the neurospicy support, yeah. Now, I have a lot of knowledge in my head, a lot of things that I've picked up, a lot of things that I understand because I live it myself and I support it with my children, yeah. It is lived experience, yeah. Also, on top of that is all of the experience that I've got with working with other people, like Libby Hill, Nicola Rike, trying to think of Briar Hill, trying to think off the top of my head, people I've worked with. But, so Libby Hill, Briar Hill, Nicola Rike, watching, like YouTube episodes from other people in different professions, watching webinars from other people, watching webinars from the likes of Geldards, watching webinars from PDA Summit, from Libby Hill, from Briar Hill, from Leanne Short, and I collect and I bank knowledge, and I'm a facts person. I'm a person who goes and researches what I need to build up what I need in my own head, and it stores it away like a filing cabinet sort of thing. And I'm pretty good at that kind of knowledge intake, right? Now, I don't have a piece of paper stating I have done a particular course other than some of the CPD courses. I do have certificates for that, yeah. But what I mean is I don't have a degree. I don't have I say I don't have a degree. I'm making myself sound so stupid right now. I have a certificate of higher education in law, yeah, but I don't have a full degree. I don't have any other certificates that would prove that I am qualified in these areas, right? Now, my issue is not that I don't know. My issue is not that I don't have knowledge, and my issue is not that I can't support and help people. My issue is when it comes to being in a formalised educational course, I kind of find that I can't write or produce a document in an academic format that's accepted. So basically, I have had comments when I have tried that we know you've got the knowledge. We can see from what you've written that you've got the knowledge, but you are not writing it in a way that we need for this course. And that's where my fall down is. Basically, I'm not academic enough, or I'm not able to write academically. When I was trying to do my law degree, I was being pushed to do DSA and get additional supports in. However, because of that, my anxiety peaked massively because of how much I was struggling as well, and because it then become all consuming, the demands on that I couldn't do. So the more I was being told to do it, the more I couldn't do it, and the more useless I was feeling, the more that I felt like I was failing. Yeah? And I do this with every single thing that I do. I have loads of ideas that I try and sit through. I want to put out there. I have fear that I will be attacked for not having a piece of paper to prove my knowledge. I have a fear that people think I step outside of my remit because I don't have a piece of paper to prove that I have the knowledge. But then at the same time, I am so frustrated with myself that I can't get past that to share what I do, knowledge I have, and to support people where I can. Now, that is why I'm doing the neuro spicy family support, because I know that I've got knowledge where I could help other families, even if it's just to understand, you know, the PDA profile, the internalisation, the anxiety, where it's come from, that responses and reactions that you're seeing are just the surface level, you know. And they talk about behaviour is communication, and it is, and I don't like the word behaviour, which is why I try and avoid it and take it out of everything possible. You know, actions, responses, it all means something, yeah? But quite often when we're talking about PDA, when we're talking about autism, when we're talking about ADHD, when we're talking about practically anything, we're talking about actions and responses. We never go further. We never start to unpick properly what it is that's causing them actions and responses. And that's what we need to do in order to support people properly and help them to move forward. And it's once we start doing that, and once we start seeing that our education system, you know, you're never going to prove a person's worth through a piece of paper. You're not going to prove a person's worth through an exam or essays, because not every person possesses the same skill set or the same learning style. You know, I can sit and I can have videos like this constantly expressing all of this, but if you were to come and tell me to put it in an essay, it wouldn't come across the same. Because my difficulty, my processing from visual and spoken orally like this to a written format is where I fall down. It's where I get lost in translation, if you understand what I mean. And it's where sometimes in written format you'd find yourself having to reread or re-see what I'm writing, because you've got to be able to read it from how my mind's working to understand what it is. Because if not, it is lost in translation what's trying to be said. And that's not me saying because I'm stupid or incapable. It's because my brain functions and works differently to your brain. Now, you might have a brain that functions and works quite like mine, and you might be able to pick up and read and get a full understanding of what I do. But another thing that I am pretty good at, and I have honed in my skill set, is because my brain works the way it is, I am great at taking information that's complex, that is medicalised, etc., and I'm great at being able to reformat that orally in a way that most people can understand. But again, if I were to format that in a way and put it on paper, it wouldn't be the same, and it wouldn't be translated the same, and people would probably again have to try and think the way I am. And what I love sometimes is like when people read my books, they'll sit there and go, I can hear you speaking it, because it's my words, it's the way I speak. And I get that some people think because I can't write academically, or because I have to write it because I write how I speak, that's wrong, it's unprofessional, etc. Like, I don't agree. It's me. It's me in a nutshell. And this is how our children feel when they're in education. Our children feel they're wrong because they're being expected to process, react, respond in a set way. You know, to meet the expectations of an exam at the end of it, rather than celebrating the skill set and the brain functioning they've already got. And this is where our education system lets us down, because we teach for exam and result rather than teaching for a person's skill set, for what a person naturally has, and championing that skill set. And I think that's what we need. We need a more diverse way of doing things. It's okay saying let's have a national curriculum and cover all these subjects, because very, very little of it is meaningful to a lot of us. And a lot of us need meaning in order for it to develop and go forward. And yeah, so it is a case of fighting demons. It is for me anyway. It is a case of imposter syndrome. It is a case I struggle to see myself as a professional. And I am not sitting here and telling you all this for people to panic and say, "Oh my God, you can't do a job." I'm telling you, I can do my job. I'm telling you that I'm probably capable of a hell of a lot more than what I actually do. But in order to do that, I have to fight the demons. And the reason I want to share it is because I feel that's where our children are. Our children are stuck behind this imaginary wall, where the potential's on the other side, because they are basically bricked in and feeling stuck, which means we never see their full potential. They don't grow because what's expected of them is very limited, very in the box, very narrow-minded. And I think to grow our education system, to grow our next generation of children and professionals and, these amazing people, we need to take them brick walls down and start thinking outside of the box, start building people up, start allowing people to grow their way. And I just want to say that just because I don't have a piece of paper to prove anything, I've worked my way up anyway. I've built my knowledge, I've built my education, I've done everything I possibly can, and I continue to do that because things change. We learn new things, we develop as a nation, we develop as a society. Scientists constantly find things. Medicine. Sorry, medicine constantly changes. We have developments. We evolve. And that's what we continue to do. We continue to learn and we continue to evolve. And that's what we need to allow ourselves to do. And we don't need pieces of paper to prove that we've done that. You know what I mean? There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. There's more than one way to be educated. There's more than one way to build up your knowledge. And it's not all about an academic route that doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes it's about developing your own path. Some people might go straight up the path, or some people might go like me, where we bend and dip and bend and dip and bend and dip. But we get there eventually. Anyway. If you're fed up with my videos, I'm really, really sorry. But this is me.